I got torn cigarette. Wet book of matches, my patches got patches. I got scars that won't heal. I got torn cigarettes. Wet book of matches. Hello. I got scars that won't heal. I got run. I just want to. We're just testing out how the quality is out here. What the fuck? It says the camera is disabled by company policy on this device. Good. Take a very long time. Is the camera on now? Can you see? Can you see my hand? Well, I've been consistently approached by strangers, and they all have the same set of names. And I thought, okay, it's just whatever. But then they started showing up outside my property here, out in the woods. They've been here. They've been following me through town. They've been showing up on the road outside my property, telling me their names are Brian, Frank, and my name's Casey Francis O'Brien, you know? Strangers have been warning me about witchcraft using my hair. Like they take strands of my hair and use it for witchcraft. And then I get notifications on YouTube to watch videos, and the videos are like the new movie Weapons, where the witch in the movie Weapons controls everyone because she takes strands of their hair. And as I'm sitting here at night, I mean, the last thing I just saw, I don't want to put any visuals in your head, but I've been trying to make songs. Meditation's really hard when you're under spiritual attack because anything you think about, there's just some force that you can barely understand working against you and putting you through like sick torture. And for the most part, humanity is too afraid to see what's right in front of their face. Most people are pussies, completely. And my blessing, I guess, is that I'm an 11-day, 33 life path, which means that I live at this intersection between a vast amount of multidimensional realities. So I can see things other people can't. And it's not good things out there. And for some reason, there seems to be a lot of obsession around me. In one day, like in one 24-hour period, all the animals disappeared from this forest. And I put music on and laid down tonight. And all I saw, I mean, it started getting really bad. Like whatever entity is out there, it's probably just right out there. I don't know what it is, but it started showing me these pictures, these old occult pictures of the rituals they used to do. I saw things I don't want to speak about. And now if you can, I don't know if you'll be able to hear it, but noises, when I get like this, noises start to pick up right outside the cabin. I told you all the animals are gone, there's nothing out there. But every night when I get to a point where I can focus like this, things will start to scratch at the cabin really slowly like this. Desvelita, I don't give a fuck, you're a retard. So last night, I was trying to manifest again, just to get to a point where I can think, like just try to get to a point where I can remember being 17. Because I know if I can remember what it was like to be 17 before the spell work happened and all the trauma, I'll be able to find a reference point that will shift my aura and put the bubble that they've been trying to break back. They've been trying to make me forget about my personal sovereignty so that they can continue to influence and try to gain control of me. Some possession ritual. So if I can get back through my memories don't want me to have access to, I can find a point where I was protected again and open that channel back up through my good memories through the Sundance. Do you see that light? Did you see it? Mm-hmm. I got torn cigarettes, wet book of matches, my patches got patches. I got rods that won't reel, I got scars that won't heal. I got torn cigarettes, wet book of matches, my patches got patches. Oh, that's cool. They changed the song I was trying to sing from Patches to Save Myself. Life can get you down, so I just numb the way it feels. I'll drown it with a drink and out-of-date prescription pills. And all the ones that loved me, they just left me on the shelf. Farewell, before I say someone else, I've got to save myself. 'Cause if I don't, and I go back to where I'm rescuing a stranger, just because they needed saving, just like that, I'm here again, between the devil and the danger. But I guess it's just my nature, my dad was wrong, 'cause I'm not like my mom. Oh yeah, last night it was just it was this big tall praying mantis that in spirit it started to convert the energy in front of me, and I felt the pressure as it came in, and it was right here, and every time I tried to think, it was just cutting and trying to dig through, dig at me, dig at me, dig at me, dig at me, trying to get in. And every time they get in, I start to feel my hands move like this and like contort. And it's never reassuring. It's never like there's a voice saying, just let it happen. It's good for you. He's trying to help you. There's just nothing. But occasionally I'll get like, you are protected, will come through. You are safe. But mostly I'm seeing like animals that should be running around happy or walking around like they're drunk. And at nighttime I see these glowing hairs start to come through the cabin and get right up to the tent, and I'll see them glowing in and out of reality, and they try to get me. They try to attach to me. And then I'll feel like there's somebody doing satanic witchcraft just down the road. So I walk to the edge of the property, and there's a car sitting there. And it's a person that I've seen multiple times the past month. They'll like get on the bus and sit next to me, and I'll look over at them, and we both know that I know. And I don't know what they are. But I know that other people have things where they start to look up like Rothschilds or other keywords, and then they have people do the same thing to them. Seneca's. I'm not gonna. I keep seeing it, but I'm not gonna tell you what the thing showed me. Oh, coincidentally, yeah, because I don't have any way to actually have clear conscious thoughts. It might sound like it's my thoughts, but I'm pretty sure it's just influence thing that has access to see it, and I'm alone. But I'd rather be alone than be with people that I shouldn't be around. And I have never found anyone that I feel like should be around me. I've never met anyone healthier than me that wasn't a worse person. I appreciated this. Valita did not see the light. You don't have to be worried about me, man. But I'll tell you that the state police were just sitting at the edge of the property yesterday. And just like in Weapons, when the people showed up and then the people that were possessed walked out to go cut a strand. Is that people 1,000, even people like 15 years later will be much smarter than people here now. Did you hear that? Did you hear that? And nobody cares. That sounded like something picking up and dragging a tree. Like a big, something huge. And now I feel this really cold presence. Psychology was founded by black magicians. The whole point was to cut people off from truth so that they could control and manipulate people to farm them for as long as they could. They invented mental institutions as a prison, a punishment for people that were good at rejecting their system. They weave themselves into your belief systems. So that they can operate you remotely. Part of that is that no one will be able to understand or accept the things that I say. No matter how much you try to help them. They won't be able to understand because they're not brave enough. No, black magicians. Black magic. I don't know how the quality is because I'm out in the woods. People like Aleister Crowley, Carl Jung, Freud, everyone that psychologists study also had books on how to invoke demonic forces. And the sigils that they used to try to bind this demonic force and then try to attach it to themselves, use it. They're exactly the emojis that are on this. Their cult had a symbol that looks a little bit like an F associated with the color blue, and that became Facebook, Gmail, Instagram, Meta, Snapchat, Twitter. They're all cult members that work with being entities outside of this realm, and they use us. And when I talk about it, loud noises outside the cabin, things get thrown at me. When I sit here and I think about, okay, how do I know how to start implementing a positive change to try to help people get to a better position, and then I see Nipsey Hussle's body just floating around, or I saw my brother die, and then I kept going, and then 6 months later he died. One time I had finished the perfect song, my perfect song. I spent 3 years fighting through this, and I made a song I felt was my perfection. That if I had just made it and I put it out, it would create such a massive change in how people feel. And then I left, I came back, and my mom had locked the door, and she was smiling like this, holding a kitchen knife and walking around in circles, and she had called the police and told them I had a grenade. And when the police showed up, they looked like this. Like they weren't even there. They were just like hereditary when it possessed the mom. The scratching noise is now in the cabin. It's not a mouse. I know what the mice sound like. I rose my awareness for a second, and I heard leaves rustling in 4 different places around me. Of something trying to jump out of my perception very quickly. I just shifted my focus to something better, and I rose my awareness and power again, and the noises closed in. Yep, it's in the there's something here. They're moving things slightly because that's imposing will. It's a part of the way they hide your subconscious mind. Because if you allow them to impose their will over time, while they try to degrade you into not feeling like you're capable or deserving of your own will, then they try to replace you. Something really wants me to hit the loon. And I just feel cold and weak. But then I'll hear a song start playing. And I just have to sit here. I don't trust that there's anywhere in the world I can go. Like, I know that there are good people, but I don't want to bring them into this, you know? And every time I've ever gone to somebody's house in my entire life, like the first sleepover I had with my dad, 6 cops showed up and ripped him out of the car because they said he didn't use his blinker, and he did. The first sleepover we had, where all of us were really happy and we felt free. We were laughing. There was nothing keeping us trapped. It was 2 9-year-olds and my dad, and it was pouring, and we were just driving around looking at the salamanders, and it's hard to cultivate a spiritual ecosystem when the enemy seems to have gained control over the natural order. So imagine all of us are in a town square, and you walk into the town square and you see me there on the ground, and there's like 20 people taking turns cutting me and ripping me apart, and I'm trying to keep healing quickly and put myself together, and I'm screaming what they're doing. I'm like, they're kicking me, they're cutting me, they pulled off my ear, and then you and 200, like, how many subscribers do I have? Like 500? Are just like eating popcorn, going, this guy's fucking crazy. Schizo. And then the thing, one of the demonic things kicking me turns and laughs. And then at the end, you turn around to leave, and it's blocked off. And then I just sort of like a big golden light, and I just rise up, and now I'm floating, and the other things can't get me. And then, like an advocate or like some type of angel is with me. I don't want to see what happens to them, to everyone in the city square. But it's not good. So I wanted to do bushcraft. I wanted to get a portable power station, like a Jackery or something like that. And that way I could live stream all day and do like long time lapse live streams of me cleaning, because I know that that inspires people. So I wanted to do that last year. And then I know that when I get to a point where I'm free from my mother's control, she obsessive compulsively tries to rip and tear her way into my life to try to subdue me again so that she can feed off me like a parasite in some made up position of power. And if I don't believe it and reject it, she'll go so far as to lie to thousands of people on Facebook, because if she can't beat me down and she's afraid that people will start to respect me, especially if she feels I'm about to like step into a position where I'm sort of shining in her mind, and people will start to admire me and see me my positive qualities. If I'm not a beat down victim suffering from a mental illness, she will do everything she can to induce that mental illness. I don't have mental illness. I'm a 33 life path, born in the 11th, Sagittarius, Sun, Mercury. And there's another one. It might be Pluto in the 8th house. Only a retard would think that I have mental illness at this point. The only mental illness I would say is that there is an actual spiritual sickness, but it all stems from a system and my family and the things that had taken control of them. They're just pieces of shit. And since I was born, I was trapped in that with them. Now that I've gotten older and I can recognize these levels of freedom that I have, that I can slowly start to achieve, like being decisive and not feeling hindered by immense pressure and fear, I can go back through my memories sometimes and realize how my family was mostly weapons used to keep me in that state, to keep me from this state that I was just talking about. The times I can remember vividly that I achieved that state, my father snapped, started running around in circles through the apartment, ripping all my books up, took my keyboard and smashed it, started taking kitchen knives and throwing it at the wall. My mom grabbed a kitchen knife, smiled, and called the police lying. My cousin and my aunt made up things, gaslit each other into believing things that they made up, and then put on this whole play to try to convince me I was a monster. That's all they do. They hold on to this festering lie that helps them cope, and they will violently hurt me to try to keep that image. So when I try to break out of it and break free, it triggers them. And it triggers, now that I have a larger network of people that pay attention to me, it triggers a lot more people than I realize and understand. So I have multiple people that break when I post something that gets a lot of views, and they come try to kill me. They blow me up on Facebook. I have people that obsessively try to attach to me through the internet. Like they're trying their hardest to attach to me, to like keep this connection so that they can drain it all for themselves. And I have literal demonic forces right here. So I use the donation money, and I don't get a lot of it. I know if I had just saved, like last year, it was worse. Like you can go back last year and see that the suffering was a lot worse. So I know that I could have had what I needed by now. If I had just saved up for 8 weeks back then, I could have gotten an e-bike, and that would have solved a lot of my problems. But I was in survival. I would just go off of what's trying to build back this strength to break through, so I could keep going. So I would find things that would help. And now that I took that very far, at the other end of it, I went to the end of that, and now it's no longer a burden on me. I don't have a compulsive need for cigarettes, and every day since changing to the loon, I don't, it's not an obsessive thing anymore. I'm at a point where those cravings to stop the trauma are going away because I'm gaining more control. But in that, I'm finding vivid. I'm getting to a space where I can become more spiritually aware of the things happening and the things I'm seeing seem to be getting, like, they're violent. Like, here. So I made a friend, little demon stick figure, and the word Alex with the 11 that I showed you when I first got the year of the sun. It didn't work. But Alex's friends at that time were Vincent, Jonah, Joey. Who's that? What's his name? I can't remember his name. It's probably important too. Their last name is Hazel, which is brown and green. Here, when I met this Alex at that were all attached in the same set of names that all tied into repeatedly over thing I said about the names, and he was like, I don't, I see it, but I think I just have to go through your life to understand. And I'm like, I swear to, like, I promise you, within this time that we're hanging out, by the end of this Celtic Music Fest journey, you're gonna know that you are at some point an instrument from some higher intelligence. And then the last day he wore a name badge. And then I stopped watching that show because I'm a Sagittarius Aquarius. Aquarius. And he's a Taurus, and I'm a Taurus rising. And I'm a Taurus rising. The whole theme is about trying with a secret to judge. They're saying imaged and traumatized and kept captive in his gaining traction as a visionary leader 1133, and he lived in room 303. And every scene there's 303, and every scene there's symbolism for 11, two identical items. Point where he realizes that he was a twin, too brave. And it's just when I away, and there was another family that sort of took care of me in my life. When Bo gets hit after I crashed my car, after Bo gets hit by a car, he's taken to a family, and that family, every name in the family is the same name of the people in my life. You know that? You won't survive. Something took control for a second and pointed me towards the trash in the trash can, and there was insulation boards and a big heavy foam match. They tried to lift up my pallet so I would fear that I would fall off a cliff. And they closed down a restaurant I was live streaming at, and the only way I got them to leave was playing a record because they're afraid to start actually being that, being that. So they have to attack me. Have to feel have to feel like they've killed the spirit of people that are doing it themselves, like they've killed the spirit of people that are doing it themselves in order to start doing it themselves. Sort of like, say there's a group of people and they all have really horrible habits, and then one guy starts making money. Instead of learning from them and changing their ways, they crab in a bucket, get the guy, and then try to share the guy. Came upstairs and talked to me about this. He said, he came into boys, but the boys were holding Snoop Dogg back. They weren't as good as he was. They couldn't do the things that he did, that he could do. They couldn't see his vision. And they were like anchors keeping him from leaving the bottom of the ocean, in a sense. So eventually Snoop Dogg realized he had to cut all of his boys. I think Just Rita has a jackery. Oh, the point was my mom had my mom had everything I needed. God had given my mom, like the universe had just panned out in a way that my mom had everything I needed. But she was too selfish. And she coveted it and tried to continue this parasitic relationship going. In order for her to survive, she had to gaslight me into mental illness to satisfy her. She would pray to God, please get Casey help. And God showed her, if you look around, everything that Casey actually needs, all the help Casey actually needs, is sitting in your apartment. And she said, nope. Instead, I'm going to try to beat him so that I can feel like I am in control. So one time I showed my capstone. I called my workers, and all the workers gathered around the phone, and I called my mom so that they could see what it was actually like, because people didn't believe me. And they were so appalled and disgusted by how my mom is, how she acted, what she said, what she was trying to do, the sick, disgusting way she was trying to infiltrate my life. And then she tried to get into the workers' lives. As soon as she started, she diverted her attention to the worker, she tried to do the same thing to her, whose name is also Casey. So they all were like, I can't do it. They all said, I literally can't do it. And they got up and left. They literally left the room, started doing dishes and cleaning and doing shit. They had to escape. And afterwards, they all said, like, I still kind of I feel like violated from that. And I was like, imagine that you're alone in the middle of the woods with that. And that's the only way you can get a ride to town or get food or get anything. And she's trying to stuff pills down your throat that keep you from feeling. So, I mean, I would just watch. A tired single mom, I guarantee you're obese. I would focus on yourself. You're either obese or you're not taking care of yourself. What an aggressive piece of shit. Smart people would have said, like, hey, have you thought about getting a job? Why haven't you gotten a job? Fat, ugly losers. Destroyed inside. Stuck in cope. Because being poor is like a drug addiction. Specifically white. I didn't really look at your profile picture, but I'm assuming you're white. Those are the people that go, get a job, take care of yourself. They don't go like, hey, have you thought about this? What's your thoughts on this? You're stuck in competitive versus collaborative, which most people are. Here's something cool. So last week, I think, I walked into this place, and in this place, a woman approached me and said, hey, have you thought about woofing in Hawaii? And I was like, yeah, I got this Hawaiian shirt randomly just on the side of the road the other day. And then I walked into a thrift store and someone gave me this Ohana means family picture and a plaque that I hung up that says family, and family means no one gets left behind or forgotten. And my dad lived in Hawaii for 10 years, and my sister was born in Hawaii. So I've been thinking about Hawaii a lot. My music tends to go in between Native American, Irish, and Hawaiian all the time, like bluegrass, but it has this feeling that I couldn't recognize until I heard Hawaiian music, and then the way that I structured the vocal harmonies, and the thing I was always hunting for, I didn't understand until I found round dance music. That's where my soul is always going. So I've been thinking about Hawaii, and she's like, "Oh, well, my," and I was also thinking about I need a cat. So then this random woman comes up and says, "Hey, my husband went to Hawaii and he loved it, and that's where he got his cat." I was like, "Okay." And then I walk up the road, and then that night I'm playing piano outside this concert that's going on in the back room. And then I leave to smoke, and a woman comes out, and she's standing there smoking weed. So I was like, I just want to see when the demon gets in her. So then it takes over her, and she immediately goes, "Oh, I've lived in Hawaii for a long time. It sucks. Don't go there." And I never said anything about Hawaii. She was like, "They hate white people. If you go there, they're gonna hurt you really badly. Never do it." And I was like, "Did you go to like an island that's not a big homeless population sitting in there riddled with crime? Did you go to like the good parts of Hawaii? Did you try to surround yourself with healthy people?" And then she was like, "Go to Ireland instead." And then two more people came out, they shared the weed, and they all were just trying to rope the power out, trying to make me feel powerless, use my attention to try to drain me, to make themselves feel, for what it looks like to me, just these dark bubbles, trying to give themselves a powerful aura that makes them sort of dominate everyone in the space. Harvesting. And I heard that the demons roam in packs, so they have to have multiple bodies at once, because when they're alone, that all goes away and they come back to the universe is ultimately like 51% positive. So the good stuff starts to come in. They, in order to hold on to that bad stuff, they can only do it for certain times, and then it's a depleting resource. So they have to go back and find more people that they can do that to. So their lives pretty much just become perpetuating this harvesting of other people. So they sort of target the good ones. because they have the best energy. Like I've had people follow me through grocery stores and they followed me all the way to the bathroom and they stayed outside the bathroom while I was hiding in the toilet, locked, hiding in the poop stall. Like, when is this guy gonna leave? And then I felt him breathe all my energy and steal it for himself. And he went, "Oh, that's fresh." And then he ran out and I never saw him again. You heard that? Something just pressing on the metal. Boop. There's no wind. There's no animals. Something just presses on the metal, which makes this little pop sound right next to me, right outside the window. Now there's movement right there. Now there's movement right there. But it's not movement. It's like picking up a little rock and then dropping it. It's not wind. It's not leaves falling. Because I check. I remember exactly where these things happen because they happen in the same spot, usually. And I go look. And there's no evidence of anything falling. There's no leaves. It's just something surrounding me that needs to, when I, in this dance back and forth, me against whatever this thing is, they try to reassert their will. Sort of like how if you walk up to a group of white people and you meditate, if they're sick, they will spit on the ground. They'll go, "Pff," and then start stomping. You know what I'm saying? But there's a more powerful frequency that comes through, whether it's trauma attachment or whatever, and that will start to play the music as vividly as I can see it. It's sort of like my musical gift, I guess. Like in the pauses in between this stuff, I'll hear songs. They've been really pumping in this movie called The Witch. They really want me to watch The Witch. Like, even if I don't want to watch it. I guarantee it's just going to make me think the wrong things. But then I'll start to get notifications for it, The Witch. It'll start to pop up on my Facebook feed. Like a YouTube video from 6 years ago will pop up saying why everyone should watch The Witch, something like that. And they did that for Hereditary before. And then I watched it and I wish that I hadn't watched it. But I'm glad I did because it brought me to Beau is Afraid. And all these movies are stuff that I want to show my cousin Jesse because it reminds me of his situation and obviously my situation, but I know that he's like my extended family. And he's the only person I know that appreciates art the way that I do, that isn't dead yet. Everyone else that appreciated art the way that I did, and stories and beauty and music, they're all dead now. The ones that I felt hadn't been succumbed to the demonic entities and they were fighting back against it, the evil of the world, they're all dead. Lots of noises now. 3 at once in different places at the same time. The air is getting stale. I don't know what that was. It sounded like something dragged a tree, like it was heavy and huge. And it just dragged it like 3 feet to the left earlier. So I'm like, okay, that would be like schizophrenic delusion, whatever. I can see how people could take it that way. But then I go to the edge of the property and there's just a guy in a car watching me. So I'm like, fuck, gang stalking. So I start to take pictures and then he pulls up right behind me and he rolls the window down and goes, "My name's Brian." I was like, "Didn't I see you before?" And he goes, "Maybe." And then he drives away, doesn't go into any houses, turns around, and then follows me. And then he leaves, and then he pops up again an hour later, and then I see him at midnight in a church that's closed, just around. Sometimes the way that the praying mantis communicated with me telepathically, I'll feel I'll feel the same type of psionic pressure, and I'll look over and there's an unmarked van, and then as soon as I look at it, it takes off. And then crows would start to scream at me. They would just show up and start screaming at me. And then I would just like weather the storm, keep going, focus, hold the attention, smoke a cigarette, try to ground myself, get up, and then try to get back to my tent. And then on the way, the cops would follow me. And then they would sit outside my tent and just tap the siren. Sometimes up to 20 minutes. And then a day goes by. I finally am brave enough to leave the tent again to go get McDonald's because that warm food would help me that winter. And they would be right there. And then while I'm eating, because that was like my ritual to make myself feel better and more present and creative so I could start to think coherently and focus on something positive and create something. The cops would show up again and they'd sit on property they were trespassing on, shine their bright light right in my eyes, and they would just sit there and interrupt my meal. So I couldn't. So it's either I have to eat my meal while they're shining the light on me, or let it go cold. So I would pull my phone out to record them, and I'd go live, and I have the videos still on my channel, and then they would take off, and there would be two of them. And I'm like, in a whole town full of people, and there's only two cops on at night, and I have permission to be on the property. Why? Because I look funny? Like, that was their justification. He doesn't have a home, and his hair is long. That's all. That's the only reason they didn't like me. And then when they tried to bully me, I stood up for my rights, and I said, I'm just going to record you. Like, if you want to be this way, I watch First Amendment audio videos. If you want to do this routine, I'm trained in the how to give cops a hard time. If you really want to come press me for dominance, ego check me so you can try to make me feel scared and hold the power over me so that you can feel deserving of some energy that you'll use to try to harass women at the drive-through. I'll just I'll just I had nothing else to live for. And usually when it doesn't work, when they try to do that, they go insane. And it's not just cops, it's cunts, creeps, crows, and crackheads. So if you've made it, come on. Do you believe me yet? Something just pelted a rock right next to me. Let's clip it. And you the stuff that would help the answer. And then there's something with two legs, footsteps right there. And then something over here pelted a rock right next to me at the corrugated metal wall. There's a roof. If it were to fall, it wouldn't hit that wall. And I live here and I stay here. So I have to say I'm brave in some sense. The music said, "It's good to be grateful. Grateful is good." So I'm grateful. even if it's crazy, what a unique story. What a unique, amazing adventure this has been. I wish that I could have saved John Michael. I wanted him to be here, but then I would talk to him and he would talk about how he wanted to take my soul. And every time I tried to talk to him, all of a sudden he would start to smell disgusting, and I would see that his eyes would turn black, and he would start to smell really badly. And then he would go and he'd start to shake and he'd just start ripping all my shit up in the back seat. All of my friends only ever came to me when they needed a place to sleep. As soon as they had a stable place to live, they left. And they would spend the whole time judging me so heavily, like aggressively trying to dominate me creatively, trying to hinder my ability to create my music. And after I give up on them and I move on, they either die or their life gets really bad and they just deteriorate. Now Kendrick is playing Corrupt a Man's Heart with a Gift. That's how you find out who you're dealing with. A small percentage who I'm building with. Something directly in front of me now. It's like it could be a gust of wind, but I'm smart enough to know that a gust of wind, I would hear leaves rustling everywhere. I would hear the trees rustling because the leaves haven't fallen. So it's not. And I know, I've been here long enough, I know how the mice sound. There's no mice anymore. They're gone. The robins have all left. The blue jays have left. All the birds are gone, even the ones that are supposed to stick around. There's plenty of food for them. The crows don't even show up anymore. No deer, no raccoons. There's nothing here anymore. As soon as they put the thing that says you can't be here anymore, and I started seeing what's probably some type of cult. Now that things are gone, everything is just gone. And I remember, I won't say it, but I felt like this huge presence had warned me that this was all showing me I'm supposed to leave this place. Maybe come back in the spring. But staying here is not a good option. But then I went to a city to see if I could do it, and humanity's sick. Society is fucked. It's revelations. That alien ship, like they're just, you can find videos now of UFOs that are blocking the missiles. Like you can, I think maybe I don't know if they're Hellfire missiles. It's one of those types of missiles. You can see that there's this video of them trying to bomb somebody, and you can see vividly the UFO in the same shape and style that I talk about, that I see when I ask the aliens to if they're there, and I see the UFOs. The same thing that flew over my head very slowly, two of them at once, and then disappeared right above my head. You can see the UFOs in that video destroying the missiles before they could hit. Every time they tried to fire off a missile for a couple days, the UFOs would block it immediately. And supposedly, like they try to test fire nukes, and the things show up, and then they just sit outside the facility, and all the systems go down in a safe way, and then they just fly up and disappear. Or they have like this big aircraft carrier going to war, and then the thing comes out of the water and it blinds only a specific set of people. Like there's like 15 people watching, and the UFO could judge the characters of the people there, and it permanently left a few of them brain damaged completely for the rest of their lives. But the stuff I saw tonight was it wasn't extra, it wasn't alien. It was some really sick stuff that
Like the imagery I've seen is stuff that I don't want to talk about, but it has to do with like ancient cults and what they would do. And I'm like, where is there anywhere safe? Something told me something. I just so around the side of my head right here, a dark thing was right there, just literally right there, and I saw the image of a map of New Zealand, and I heard the word New Zealand, and now I'm seeing a boat, and I'm seeing this YouTube that I saw a couple years ago of people that were really happy on a boat sailing around and decided to make New Zealand their permanent place because I guess it's very nice there, or at least friendly to people living that lifestyle. And then what's holding me back is that I can see all the relationships of the people I would be leaving behind, and I chose to stay here because I thought that if I fought through it, eventually I would, holding on to this light, I would be able to make everybody see the way that I saw it, so that they could resist, and we could resist together in a way that grows, and then the garden fights off the invasive stuff, and it starts to grow naturally again. But I forgive them, but I don't know how to keep it going. It would rely on them, and I know that they've done me so wrong. So I used social media instead of giving them the good stuff. I like changed my character on social media to to be someone that inspired thought and held the attention and did the stuff that they were all competing for. Like I outperformed them, but I outperformed them as this character. I didn't lie, but I framed it in a way that would be painful to read, but impossible to stop reading. So I had like 600 friends, 300 of them were watching my story every day. I had them hooked and invested in my narrative and going along the journey with me. And then I get and then slowly pushed it to a place where the only way to keep going is to care. So that as I kept going, only the people that really cared could stay. And then those people I brought to a better sense. And now those people are very happy. And everyone else seems to have fallen into groupthink, social conditioning, Facebook possession, and AI antichrist. But occasionally I'll set a thing, like I'll say something knowing that if there's anybody that still has a bad opinion of me, they're gonna jump at it because I can take it now. So when they show up and they start with the hate, then I'm able to lead them back to grace. And then I notice that they stop posting on Facebook, that when they do eventually change their profile picture, it's nowhere near the flashy, ego driven, trying to put on this masquerade. And it's real. And that's the 11. The 11, being born on the day of the 11th, means that your presence itself is inspiring and uplifting and teaches people. I embody this ancient energy. Just my presence is enough. Just being in an area changes everybody. Other notable 11s is Joe Rogan, Aiden Ross, Alex Jones, who are famous just for their presence. Joe Rogan's not funny. Aiden Ross isn't funny. But it's the 11 associated with their astrological sign. And they are doing spiritual work. And that spiritual work with the 11 draws in people because life is about learning and they embody all this knowledge without realizing it. So people become drawn to that knowledge. And then they use that 11 energy with their sun sign. So Joe Rogan is a Leo. So he has the comedy mothership and he has all these orbiters, the Rogan gang. Aiden Ross is a Libra, which is air. And it has to do with balancing tons of different paradigms and thought forms and social communication. So he brought everyone together in conversation, like he was, as the Libra, the balance between the rap community and the suburban kids. Alex Jones is the 11, but he's the Aquarius, the rebel, the visionary. And his whole thing is based around, we're going to get the Matrix. We're going to keep going. We're going to fight through this, and we're not going to let any of them touch us. The Aquarius, the detached pushback of their high vibrational bubble in rebellion, which makes them seem psychotic because they're buried under trauma. And I'm a Sagittarius, so I would be the embodiment of man and nature, the highest forms of the human condition, and the deepest roots in nature, the ancient elder tree, with the confident adventurer that travels. It's a momentum-based sign. So my thing would be bridging the gap between man and nature and heaven on a journey. To unite the world. And then it just happens that my name is Acacia, Casey, the most powerful name in Freemasonry, which means the immortal, incorruptible. And then in that incorruptible, immortal essence, that the Acacia is known to survive the harshest conditions. Inside that, we have the 33 life path and overarching the whole thing, and that's the divine child, the little boy. Grace. And then you have like my Saturn in Taurus in the first house alongside my Taurus rising, means that my whole life is based through achievement through the harshest conditions. It means that my life will be a brick by brick, forcing it, building my castle slowly. It's not going to be like I walk into, but I mean, the Sagittarius luck comes in, and that's why I can go walk down the street, Sagittarius, and I find this bike that I asked for, or I find this, or someone just gives me this, or I find the right people. That's the Sagittarian luck. And Mona in Bo is afraid, his abusive, controlling mother trying to overstep him. That's why in the movie you see people that die are covered in shamrocks. Bo being the Sagittarius, and Waterman being the water bearer Aquarius. And I'm a Sagittarius Aquarius. That's all my signs. Sagittarius, Sun, Mercury, and Pluto, Aquarius, Moon, Uranus, Neptune, and Mars. The only other signs come from the Taurus rising, which forces those signs to be a certain way. If you have a Taurus rising, you have to have a Venus in Scorpio in the 7th house. You have to have a Jupiter in Aries in the 12th house. You have a Leo North Node, and you have a Capricorn midheaven. The 10th house is Capricorn. So Aquarius in Capricorn means that I'm going to be this rebellious, strong public figure, like this imposing force. And then the 8th house is Scorpio, and it's this deep undercurrent transformation into the Firebird Phoenix. So having the Sagittarius in the Scorpio means that my ups are gonna, and my it's a rampage. And it's all there from when I was born. The day I was born, my whole life. Rogan just means the tip of a spear. And he's a Leo. My dad's name is Gary, which means a mighty spear. And he's a Leo. Libra. Born in the 10th. 3 life path. Fire, air. And I'm Sagittarius, Aquarius, 33, born in the 11th. You can see an obvious correlation there. What I'm noticing is that in the traditions that the people in my genetics used to believe is that god of the wild is primarily fire and air, Loki. And then my ex-girlfriend Garrett had a dog named Loki. Call me Carson when he finally found his home after his fame didn't work out and he got canceled for something stupid. They like character assassinated him and now he's thriving, sort of. He's happy, at least. Happier. He changed his screen name to Gary and his developer's name is Loki. But he goes by Code Husky. And Garrett, my ex-girlfriend, her dog Loki was a husky. Is a husky. And then you have the TV show Loki on Disney Plus, where Loki loses his delusions of grandeur and his ego and becomes a hero because Casey showed him that outside of space and time, none of those things he worried about mattered. In the multiverse, all the things he was searching for power is nothing. And then he goes on this journey to save everyone. And then when Casey and Loki fail, OB down in the basement comes up. And OB and Casey, who are like outside of space and time, even though OB is like 5,000 years old and Casey's pretty recent, they realized that because time didn't exist, they were both as smart as each other and teaching each other at the same time. They were like two halves of this genius, Casey and OB, who helped Loki become the tree of life, the acacia, the Yggdrasil, who controls the multiverse. And then there's like the Celtic goddess Rhiannon. And then if you look at Ironheart, Riri lives in Gary's auto and she sells her soul. That's the bad Gary. It's just an extension of myself living in real time. And I, as the vigilant Kehasa, as above, so below, as within, so without, the golden spiral. So my simplified life here is transcending out into the universe through like Casey Rocket, Adam Ray, Kai Cenat, Ray, Kill Tony, William, Montgomery. Lots of loud noises because I'm processing and working energies. And then you have Kurt Kaz, Kendrick Curry, Cassius Culpepper, the Kansas City Chiefs. And I told you how the themes that I'm talking about are played out to everybody. In the year of the cat, my year, we had the KCC win. And then Casey, as I moved through into, when I left that kingdom, because my people failed me, and I failed as a leader, I guess. And I was cast out into nature here. Then we had the Eagles won. The last football game I saw, because I don't watch football, it's just when it comes to me, I was watching Call Me Carson, who goes by Gary, and Loki, his friend. The one time that they were talking about a football game they were playing Abiotic Factor, which is like the only Call Me Carson videos I watch. I really like those videos. So of course I watched it because they hadn't played it in months. So when they finally watched it, they had the screen of the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Cowboys. And then they had the Ravens versus the Eagles, I think. So there's obvious Crow, Cowboy. And then you look back through this past year, and you can see it. My brother's dad's name was Ray. And then at the center of town, at the bottom of town, under the bridge by the river, that's where Casey at Capstone and Ray, who has a church, live. That's where they work, right there, next to each other. When I got here, they weren't next to each other, but after I met them both, then they suddenly plopped themselves next to each other. And then right in between them is the evil Alex demon that somebody painted. And then right next door is the recording studio where Vincent works. So we have Jesse, Alex, Gary, Loki, Vincent, Ray, Casey. And then the rest is just like repeating, like Bob, Robert Baratheon, who's like based off of Brian Boru. So you have Rob and Bob and Brian. Then you'll have Frank. And then Irish gods like Day or Hayes, which comes from Aod. So you'll see people with the prefix Hay, like Haley or Hayden. Just over and over and over and over and over again, just more weaving into my story. More of them. And when I think I've escaped it and I'm going to hide in the woods, I walk down the street, and then right outside my place, there's a guy named Brian just sitting there in the car that followed me. So, wish me luck. Cat Builder? Cat Builder is here, everybody. Where do I live? Where do you live?